Today we're talking about the new set that's coming to Magic. No, not Avatar. No, not Spider-Man. Yeah, the space set, Edge of Eternities. The pre-release is this weekend, and the numbers actually look pretty good. Let's get into it. Alright, so today we're talking about the set EVs for the play booster and the collector boosters. I'm also going to go through all the rares and mythics that I really like out of this set, and I think that you should keep an eye on. First things first is the play boosters, and these actually look not half bad. I think every time I've done one of these videos, it's been don't buy any of these boxes, but hey, I think the value is actually here for once. Obviously, we're still in pre-release, so take these numbers with a grain of salt. Once the release date of August 1st comes, these numbers will drop significantly, but just wanted to talk about where we're at right now, and I think between the shocks and all the other good cards that are actually in this set, and people are actually pretty excited about Edge of Eternities. So looking at a play booster box, it's going for about 145 bucks. The EV with everything in it is 432, which isn't bad. The rare and mythic EVs are 254 bucks, and the non-bulk EV is at 264. So really strong numbers here, especially over the price of a play booster. I still think 145 bucks is crazy for a play booster. I didn't like them at 120. I understand that that's kind of where they're supposed to be at 120, and I guess we'll suck it up and do that. But I always enjoyed play boosters. I think a clean bill was a fair price for these. That could just be my old man talking. Regardless of that, we still got a pretty decent margin between the rare and mythic and just the cost of the box, about 100 bucks. So that's really nice. It's nice to see a box that actually has some value in here. Does that mean that everything is going to be banger when you open it? No, this is the expected value. That means over the average of like thousands and thousands of boxes, if you open them, this is the number you'd expect. You could get hosed, you could hit the jackpot. That's how gambling works. But overall, the EV for this set is actually pretty nice. Moving on to the collector boxes, and these are going for an eye-watering $430. I think a lot of this is still getting fueled by Final Fantasy hype, driving just collectors in general as to what they think collector stuff is worth. But we still have a fairly solid EV here, 923 for everything. We've got a non-bulk of 756, and rares and mythics are around 850. There's a lot of special treatment here on the lands. There's the land special set, the galaxy foils, the poster, surreal lands. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here, which is really nice. So that's it in terms of numbers. Yeah, I would say these are actually pretty great. Again, obviously these numbers will come down once the release hits, but Shocklands just being in a standard set is really nice. If anything, even if these box prices come down, it means the shock prices are coming down, which is great for us. Speaking of shock prices, let's talk about all the cards that I'm interested in from Edge of Eternities. These are all cards for the main set that I think are interesting or could see play in a variety of formats, and yeah, we're going to talk about them. First card up is Beyond the Quiet. This is a Sunfall replacement for Standard. I think that we may have enough legs finally for an Azorius control deck in Standard, which is why I'm keeping an eye on this one. In Commander, you've got plenty of other better wipes, so don't worry about it for that. Next up is Cosmogrand Zenith. This is a Monastery Mentor style card. Basically, the second spell you cast, you either get 2/1/1s or you get to put counters on everything you own. There's a lot of aggro decks and reanimator decks that could potentially play on this. Again, this is mostly for Standard or if you've got a cast a second spell Commander deck. Unlike Mentor, which can only let you go wide, this actually lets you get a little tall as well. I like the modality there. I think this card could have some legs. I'm not quite sure. I haven't playtested it yet, but I am interested in it. Next up is Exalted Sunborn, and I know we just talked about Elspeth, but this one also seems really good. While Elspeth had a lot of versatility when it came to your token generator, it also lets you kill stuff and get stuff in the air and finish the game. This one, while the same cost, lets you warp it in for 2, so this means that if you want to get it on an earlier turn, you can just warp it in for 2 and get a little value that way and then replay it for 5 later. But really, I think it's good on those turns or in those token decks where you're going to combo off winning with tokens, where you don't want to expose one of your combo pieces early on, but most of these token doublers cost 5 mana, so you have to play it, wait till your next turn, untap, then you can win the game, basically leaving it vulnerable for a whole turn cycle. This one lets you, let's say you're going to go for your combo turn, you just need 2 extra mana, and you can get this deployed and then have your combo off turn. So I think that's actually really nice. Plus, the regular going rate for this is not overcosted at all. 5 mana is very fair rate for token doublers we've seen before. Plus, it's an angel and Angel Dex makes a lot of tokens, so this card might actually go up quite a bit. I think this is a really good one. I would keep my eye on Exalted Sunborn. Next card up is Pinnacle Starcage. This is a worse temporary lockdown, but temporary lockdown is rotating out of standard, so if you need another version of that, I would look at Pinnacle Starcage. Next up is the card that I think is the best card in the entire set. It's Consult the Star Charts. It's 2 mana draw a card, but if you pay 4 mana, you can draw 2 cards, and you get to look at X number of cards where X is equal to the number of lands you control. So this card just gets better as you go longer into the game, which is what Control likes to do. If you can pay for the kicker, it's already pretty solid. Looking 4 deep and then snagging 2 cards is basically the front side of Memory Deluge. So I really like this in a draw-go style deck, and it just gets better as the turns go on. It's also another reason why I think Azorius Control may actually have a shot in this standard rotation. Quantum Riddler, I'm really only interested in decks that can blink this or can phase it out or do something with it to kind of to fudge the cost. I don't really want to pay 5 mana for this, but paying 2 mana and you blink it, you basically get 2 card draws out of it, which is really nice. And notably, the card draw isn't restricted to your first card or anything like that. So if you're empty-handed, you will draw 2 cards at the beginning of your upkeep. That's really nice. And it's a fairly decent body for 5 mana. A flying 4/6 isn't anything to sneeze at. After that, we've got Starfield Vocalist. This is a Panharmonicon on a Bonnie, so you can blink him, you can do other stuff. But notably, again, it's got that warp mechanic. He's not overcosted. 4 mana is the going rate for Panharmonicon, so you're not paying any extra mana for this if you just play this version instead. But again, you get that really nice warp. If you need to have a good value turn early on, you can warp it in for 2, do your value stuff. Or if you want to, as the previous card with warp, not expose your combo for a whole turn cycle, all you need is 2 extra mana, warp this guy in, combo off with your Panharmonicon abilities, win the game. It's really, really nice. I think this warp mechanic has a lot of legs, and that's why I'm keeping an eye on Starfield Vocalist. I would prefer the anime version, but it's currently like $200, so I guess I'll have to settle for this guy. After that, we've got Sothera the Super Void. This is just worse Grave Pact, but people really hate Grave Pacts, so you can actually probably get away with playing Sothera. If you have a creature that dies, everyone else has to exile a creature that they control. Exiling is really nice, does stop anyone else's graveyard strategies. And at the beginning of the end step, if any one player doesn't have any creatures out, you get to sack it and put a single creature that's been exiled with it onto the battlefield under your control. Kind of sucks if you're playing against a combo deck or a spell slinger deck, something that doesn't have any creatures on the battlefield. You'll basically just sacrifice this immediately without getting any value. So that kind of sucks. Sometimes this will be a dead draw. It is definitely worse Grave Pact, but if you play in a fairly consistent pod and you know this card will work, this might be a lot of fun. Next up is Zoophyte Osteoharmonist. This is just a 3 mana removal check in any reanimator style deck. If you can make it a whole turn cycle, then you can just start reanimating stuff with no strings attached to it. There's no finality counter. There's no, oh, you can only do it the one time and then sacrifice him. Nope. This is just every single turn cycle, or if you have untappers, you can just reanimate whatever you want out of your graveyard. That's pretty nuts. I do like it. It is a tap ability. It is pretty slow, but I don't know, it's a pretty cool card. I really like the no strings attached part of this. You do have to do it at sorcery speed, but that's not that big a deal. After that, we've got Nova Hellkite. I think this card may see a little play in standard. The warping for 3 is pretty solid. It's 3 mana, hit your opponent for 4, and maybe take out a Llanowar Elf. Not that big a deal. I think that part is just only upside. And then it just goes away, and you can get it back later for 5 mana, do the same thing. Flying and haste is nice. Having haste basically makes this card obviously be unplayable if it didn't have haste. Definitely a more aggro style card. I might even put this in my Gorgor and Satoro deck because that deck cares about hasty creatures and dragons, and this lets you basically get that twice. In the right deck, in the super aggro decks, I actually think Nova Hellkite's pretty cool. Plus, killing someone's Esper Sentinel of this would just feel really, really nice. After that, we've got Weapons Manufacturing, and while I'm not a huge fan of cards that just don't do anything, this only costs 2 mana, and the thing it does is actually really, really nice. Basically, for every non-token artifact, you get to create a token artifact. So in the decks where you are just playing tons and tons of artifacts really, really quickly, low to the ground kind of style, this is just going to double up on artifacts. So if you have an ETB trigger with artifact, this is going to go absolutely crazy. Plus, you can sack all of these things to deal 2 damage to any target. So if you've got sack outlets like Goblin Well, you're going to have tons of sack outlets for artifacts. It's not that hard. This thing is just going to go absolutely nuts. This is a crazy value piece here. It doesn't do anything by itself, but I do think at 2 mana, the effect it is bringing to the table is worth it. Next up is Ice Till Explorer, and this is kind of a bonkers pushed card. You get to play an extra land every turn. That's pretty great. you get to play lands from your graveyard. This card is basically on par with all the other cards that give you this effect. Maybe it's one more, but none of those cards have all of this stapled together. This is a crazy good card. You get to play an extra land every turn. That's really good. So if you're playing fetches, this card is insane. If you're not playing fetches, I would go for a cheaper option. But if you're playing a land-heavy deck and you're playing fetch lands, this card is crazy good. Also, it just kind of fills your graveyard a little bit too. It's only mill a single card every time you do it, so it's not that big a deal. Even if you're in a deck that doesn't want self-mill, I don't think that matters at all. If you're in a deck that does care about it, yeah, it slightly helps, but not that much. So I'm not worried about that clause at all. The fact that you can play an additional land and you can play lands from your graveyard is crazy to get stapled together. This card is really, really good. Next up, we've got Pinnacle Emissary, and this is basically, again, if you're in a deck that loves to cast a lot of little artifacts really, really quickly, this one builds you a whole board state, and it's for 1 mana. So basically, you warp it in, play all your eggs, boom, you've got a whole board state. They can only block creatures with flying, but hey, it's pretty cool. Next up is the Dominion Bracelet, and it is a pretty silly card. I'm not advocating for you to put this in any decks, but if you're playing a Voltron deck and you've got like Excalibur in there already, why not just Mindslave someone for a turn? They're going to love it. They're going to love you. It's the best thing. Everyone's going to talk about it for the next week. I promise you, play the Dominion Bracelet. You'll have a good time. Well, you specifically will have a good time. The one opponent will have a bad time. They won't like it. After that, we've got Extinguisher Battleship, and this is kind of just a Meteor Golem replacement. I'm really interested in this one in decks that like to do that kind of cheat an artifact into play, either getting it from the graveyard or from hand or whatever. But when it enters, you can destroy target non-creature permanent, which is really nice. There's lots of pesky those running around these days. Plus, it deals 4 damage to each creature, so you get a little mini board wipe with it too. It's just a nice kind of clear the way of all the value stuff, or if someone's got a token deck running wild, you can clear all that stuff out, and you can get rid of a pesky non-creature thing. It also doesn't station for very much. All you need is 5 power worth of creature, and you can turn this into a 10/10 Flampler, which is pretty strong and tough to deal with. We're going to wrap things up here. We've got 2 land cycles to talk about. First up is the Mythic land cycle coming out of the set. We've 1 in every color. They all enter tap. They all add 1 mana of that specific color, and they all station for 12, which is a solid chunk to turn on, and they all do something fairly powerful for that whole investment. These don't go in every deck. I think these are a little underpowered actually for Mythics, which is kind of crazy. Maybe we're all misjudging Station and it's really easy to turn these on, but I think you just have to be really specific where you want these. I don't think these go in every deck, so just be prudent. First is Endagio Windswept Bastion. For 4 mana and a tap, you get to create a token copy of a target artifact or enchantment you control at sorcery speed. If you're copying your Panharmonicons, even a Soul Ring, doing whatever, yeah, this is pretty solid. Next up is Avendo Waking Haven. Again, enters tapped, stations for 12, and it's basically Gaia's Cradle -1 because you got to pay 1 mana for it. Gaia's Cradle is really good. Can you afford a tap land in the deck that you need it? If you can, yeah, I'd take a look at this one. After that, we've got Kavarin Memorial World. This is 2 mana, sacrifice a land, create a 2/2 robot, and creatures you control get +1, +0, and haste until end of turn. This one's terrible. Don't play this land. So many better ways to get haste than sacrificing a land. The only reason I would even consider this is if sacking a land was actually the core strategy, and I didn't care about I don't even know. This is just bad. After that, we've got Susur Secundi, Void Altar. Again, tapped in 12 station, but you pay 2 mana and 2 life and tap it. Sack a creature, draw cards equal to that sacrifice creature's power. This isn't actually that bad. It's a little hefty of a requirement, but if you're in a deck that wants to sacrifice creatures already, then yeah, I would say this is good. You've got to be able to afford a tap land in the deck too, so just be aware of that. Again, I think it's good in the right decks, especially if you got some high power creatures that you want to sack, refill that hand. That's pretty solid. Wrapping up the cycle is Uthros Titanic God Core, and this one is just Tolarian Academy -1. This is probably the easiest one to turn on. Well, this one and the green one, because you probably have big beaters in green. But this one, we have a lot of constructs typically in decks that go wide like this that have power and toughness equal to the number of artifacts you control. So if you just poop out a lot of artifacts, then all of a sudden this is really easy to turn on. And then you have a bazillion mana, and artifact decks definitely aren't broken and can't make use of that. So yeah, go nuts. This one's pretty solid. And finally, we've got 5 shock lands. There's a mix of enemy and allied shocks. We will probably get the other shocks because they have been doing a good job of finishing cycles. They've already dropped under $10, which is amazing. I'm going to finish all of my shock playsets, so really excited about that. If they drop under the $8 mark, I'll get a 5th one for all the sets, so I can just have one spare for all my commander decks and in case I need stuff for constructed. And if they drop under $6, I'm just going to get a full 2nd set of playsets of Shocklands, because I put shocks in everything. It's one of the best land cycles we've ever had, especially if you're playing lots of fetches. These are awesome. I would say keep an eye on these. I don't know how this is going to be affected by them existing in standard, but they do get to print these for a long while, so I would imagine that the prices will come down. I'm very excited about that. This is a great time to buy your shocks. Just keep an eyeball on them. Again, they're already under the price tier where I'm happy to buy and fill out a whole playset. Also, side note, if you are buying these, look at the MH3 fetches. Those are also still pretty low. They're a great pairing together. This is the reason why you play those things. So if you've got some spare cash to burn too, look at the MH3 fetches. That's all I've got for you in terms of EOE stuff. I think the prices are good. The EVs look good. We've got good reprints. We've got good new cards. And we've got good art. I mean, I'm really biased because I love everything space related. But I love everything that's happening in this set. I love that I get Shocklands finally. I've got some cool new videos coming out. I actually did buy a play booster of Edge of Eternities. I did not spend $140 on it. I got it for a much better deal than that. But I'm going to be opening that up for a box league, so I'll have that opened up and we can all take a look whether or not I get hosed by my own EV calculations or not. So pretty excited for that. And I know it's probably been a while, I have my Magic on Vegas video coming out within the next week or so. I'm doing the final edits for it. I'm really excited about that one, so I hope you guys will enjoy it. And that's it. That's all I got. Let me know in the comments if you are excited about Edge of Eternities, if you want any of that stuff. Have you already moved on to the new stuff? Leave me a like, leave me a comment, hit subscribe if you found this stuff useful. It means a lot. It definitely helps the channel. We've got a Discord and Patreon down in the comments below if you're interested in that stuff and hanging out. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.